Perk, why did, from the Lakers' perspective, they lose this series?
Because you heard JJ, he spoke only about offense. We missed wide open threes. We missed layups. We couldn't make a shot. Well, how about getting a stop? How about stopping Julius Randle, who had one of his best playoff series of his career on you? How about junking it up with Anthony Edwards? How about getting some rebounds? Because didn't Rudy have about 8 or 9 of them offensively yesterday? They dominated them on the glass. How about that end of the floor? That's the problem when you talk about winning championships. It's not offense that win you championships, defense win you championships. And all the Lakers were worried about, all the substitutions, all the extended minutes was solely based on how can they be effective offensively and not enough focus on the defensive side of things.
You know, Malika, there was a pathway for the Lakers to make a run in this postseason, but they really needed everything to go just right. And from Luka getting sick in Game 3 to injuring his back a little bit last night, to just Austin Reeves going cold, to all the minutes LeBron played that seemed to wear on him, it just didn't go right. It had nothing to do with the fact that Minnesota also played great. It just didn't go right. And this actually kind of reminds me of where the Dallas Mavericks were with Luka Doncic 2 years ago. If you remember, they made a midseason trade for Kyrie Irving. Their roster was a little bit scrambled because of it, and they had to adjust their roster. They missed the playoffs. They drafted Derek Lively. That was their rim protector. They signed Derek Jones Jr. That was a wing athlete. They subsequently traded for Daniel Gafford and P.J. Washington. None of those guys are superstars, but that built out the roster, and bam, the Mavericks are in the finals. The Lakers need to do that. No matter what they did this postseason, whether they had made the conference finals or whether they went out in 5 like they did here, they were going to have to make roster additions. So now that is obvious. That's what they have to do. They probably underachieved in this postseason, but them getting beat by the Wolves or any of the other playoff teams is not shocking. This team needed to be perfect, and they weren't.
Right. JJ Redick said it. He said, I'm not afraid to admit that we were beat by a team that is just better than we were. So where do the Lakers go from here, Danny?
When JJ said that, I don't think they were the better team. Like, they played better, yes, but I think Lakers have the better pieces.
They're deeper.
But, yes, it was just tough to watch because they got bullied last night, and they got bullied by Rudy Gobert, out of all people. Nobody in the sports world in 2025 had that on their bingo card of Rudy Gobert bullying the Lakers. And he did it. Julius Randle did it. Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, all those guys stepped up and played well. They beat them on the glass. The Minnesota Timberwolves only shot 15% from 3. So, they weren't scoring either. JJ talks about scoring. Perk is right. This defense is they couldn't rebound. They couldn't get guys off the glass. Rudy Gobert had 9 dunks. You can't give that up to Rudy Gobert. And fatigue. The fourth quarter, they got outscored 127-85.
Right.
They had no depth, like you said. They need more pieces. They need to find a big, but they need some depth to give those guys a break. LeBron James could not play 40-plus minutes and the whole second half.
Right. We're going to have Bobby Marks joining us a little bit later in the show to lay out exactly what it is the Los Angeles Lakers can do here, Brian. But looking at what is out there, I hear you. The discourse is they need to get a center. Luka needs some... Perk, what's wrong? What's wrong, my friend?
A little frustrated there, big dog.
No, because here go the excuses, right? All season long, all I've been hearing about is the emergence of Austin Reeves, right? And I was one of them, averaging 25 and 4, right? A guy that, hey, we can't call him a role player. He's too good to be called a role player. He has really made this Lakers, Luka and LeBron and Austin Reeves a big 3. And then all I've been hearing about is, what are the addition at the trade deadline of a pickup of Finney Smith? And then all of a sudden we come here and we like, oh, when is Vando coming back? Oh, they got Vando back into the lineup. Rudy's back. He's been playing some outstanding basketball. And we get to this point where they get their ass kicked. And we come on here and talk about, and then all of a sudden they didn't have enough. They didn't have a championship caliber roster. I don't want to hear that. Before the series started, the Lakers had 3 out of the 5 best players, Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves. And you can mix in Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. However order you want to put it in, the Lakers came into this series favored. They got outplayed, and it's a failed season.
Well, I don't think LeBron disagrees with you. He says it's a failed season whenever I don't make it to the finals, whenever I don't win the finals. I am curious, Brian, if it's not, I don't believe, looking at this roster, they don't believe that this was a championship roster. I hear what you're saying, Perk. But if that's not the reason, then what is?
Yeah, I mean, it's unbalanced. You know, I mean, they traded 2 rotation players to get Luka Doncic, so you're already a deficit there, and it happened so close to the deadline they couldn't backfill. And as soon as they decided to veto the Mark Williams trade, then they were just not in position to help the roster. I mean, Mark Williams, in the 21 games he played after the trade was vetoed, averaged 15 points, 10 rebounds, and shot 62%. He stands 7'1". If you don't think it would have been a difference in this series, I don't know what to say. The Lakers gave up 38 more baskets in the paint than they scored. But the Lakers felt that Williams wasn't going to be healthy enough long term. But as soon as they made that decision, they put themselves in position to be exposed like this. And that's what happened. There could have been ways they could have gotten around it. Luka could have been amazing. He could have averaged 38 points in this series. LeBron could have been amazing. Austin Reeves was great down the stretch, but he wasn't in this series. And if things didn't all click perfectly, the Lakers were going to be in trouble, and they were in trouble in this series. And honestly, I think that's the only fair way to look at it. I don't think this team underachieved. I think they got overwhelmed, but I don't think this team underachieved. I think this was about where they belonged. They had a chance to do something special that was taken away from them by a better team.
And I think that is a microcosm of what the Western Conference is this year. 2 through 7, the talent gap there is so narrow. It just depends on how the cookie crumbles. And for right now, this went the Minnesota Timberwolves' way.
Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 327. I'll be honest. A show that the audience is likely looking forward to quite a bit more than me. A show that, you know, it's very ironic. I'm drinking out of the coffee cup Game Theory with Bomani Jones. Bomani texted me this morning, just trolling me. Well, he started by trolling JJ Redick, but then he started trolling me saying, shame the Lakers didn't last long enough for us to watch a playoff game together. That would have been fun. And I wrote him back, given how the Lakers playoffs went, it wouldn't have been fun at all. And so listen, let's just get into Demonze. Hi, good to see you. Happy to see you. I love you. I'm proud of you. You're my beloved son.
Doing
Great, awesome,
rough morning,
cool, fun stuff. Let's get to what missed the cut. Stephon Castle becomes the 4th San Antonio Spur to win Rookie of the Year. If he does not end his career as one of the 25 greatest players of all time, he has not carried on that legacy. No big shoes, kiddo. But Robinson's there, Duncan's there, Wemby appears to be on his way. Dyson Daniels wins Most Improved Player, and Boston completes gentleman's sweep of Orlando. A reminder, please, like, rate, subscribe, review, check out the podcast. You can troll me in the comments, it's fine. I'll be honest, probably won't be reading them today. But the producers might pick a select few to bring to my attention if they find them particularly funny, because it's not just that I'm bummed. It's not just this is the second straight year that the Lakers and LeBron in the playoffs don't get out of round 1. It's also that this is the first Lakers playoff loss since LeBron's been there that is shocking. This one is shocking to me. When they lost to the Suns, that series turned on Anthony Davis pulling his groin. Like, I thought they would win that series, but your second best player or best player, I don't know, depending on how you viewed Anthony Davis, then pulls his groin, it changes. 2 years ago, when they got all the way to the conference finals, I thought they could win. They obviously got swept by Denver, but it wasn't shocking that they lost. Last year, when they got Denver in round 1 and Denver was the overwhelming favorite, I said, hey, if you're ever going to beat Denver, round 1's the time that you have the best chance, but I wasn't shocked by it. This one shocked me, and so I have some, accounting to do on that front, and so I'm not sure how much we're going to talk about today that isn't about the end of the Lakers season, the ascension of Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, having his annual Rudy Gobert game, which is honestly, Demonze, here is, it's really important to remember, stay humble, like Giannis would say, stay humble, be grounded, because nobody took more pleasure on TV last year than me in the last Rudy Gobert game we got. Because that was against Denver in Game 7, and Kevin Wildes was covered in shame, and I got to mock him for it. And I've never really been a Rudy Gobert guy. I don't know if there are many Rudy Gobert guys outside of Leon. However, I enjoyed that performance. And then the Rudy Gobert game came for me. And in really maddening fashion. So, again, subscribe on YouTube, hit the bell, subscribe on all your podcast platforms. And now, Demonte, go ahead.
So the Lakers season ended last night at the hands of Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves. Some might say Rudy Gobert. JJ Redick had a similar scheme. He played his starters a lot of minutes. They came closer at the end, but then kind of ran out of gas. They couldn't do it. How'd you get this series so wrong? You said they were going to win this one. They obviously didn't.
Well, yeah, and I said Lakers. I said my favorite bet was Lakers minus a game and a half.
Yeah.
Meaning Lakers in 4, 5, or 6. And when I was giving the analysis of that bet, I said I didn't even really consider the possibility of the Lakers losing the series as the reason the bet didn't come in. I thought it was because the Lakers, maybe they win in 7, but I thought they would be hard-fought games. The Lakers were clearly better. So I do want to start with me because I got to a whiff this strong, you gotta figure out, you gotta kind of do a autopsy, a post-mortem of your own takes. And the number one thing that I clearly overestimated going into this postseason was how dynamic and unstoppable the Lakers' offense would be. I thought there was a little too much attention paid to the Lakers' defensive deficiencies, not because I thought they'd be a great defense, but because I thought it was pretty clear, we had proof of concept, that the Lakers' defense could be average. That the Lakers' defense could be fine, and that if the Lakers' defense is fine, even given their size limitations, that this offense with Luka and LeBron was going to be a top 3 in the league over the court, net rating wise or offensive rating wise offense. And it was nothing close to that. And so that was whiff number 1. Whiff number 1 was that the Lakers offense would put the other team under such pressure to keep scoring and to keep pace that a younger Timberwolves team, a Timberwolves team that only has one true superstar, a Timberwolves team that has a few guys who are max players who have long playoff histories, but the playoff histories are, checkered in Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle, that the weight of LeBron and Luka on the offensive side of the ball would be too much for him. None of that happened. We didn't have a single game this series where LeBron and Luka were both outstanding on the offensive end. And we did have last night, and we'll talk obviously more about the individual parties involved here shortly, but last night was the first time in an elimination game that LeBron wasn't outstanding in a decade. Honest to God, if you go through, it was somewhat jarring to see if you look at what LeBron James, who averages 35 points per game in his career in elimination games, what he did last night in comparison. Like, if I can just quickly give you the game logs, last year against Denver, he had 2 games facing elimination against Denver. The first game, he had 35 and 4. The next game, and because they won it, he had 39 and 11. The year before, facing elimination against Denver, he had, I think, 30 in the first half, and he finished with 40, 10, and 9. When they lost to Phoenix in a game they really didn't have much of a chance. If you remember, that's the game Anthony Davis started and then played like 30 seconds, then came out of the game. LeBron, 29, 9, and 7. Facing elimination, they never faced elimination en route to the bubble in the championship run. And then if you look at Game 7 against Boston, or Game 6 and 7 against Boston, facing elimination because they're down 3-2. 46, 8, and 11. 35, 15, and 9. You can go his whole career. It's like, okay, we're facing elimination. I have to ramp it up. Here's the part that last night informed me on. He fired those bullets over the weekend. He felt correctly, clearly, we were facing elimination in Game 4. And in Game 3, he had the 38, 10, and 4, and they blew it at the end. In Game 4, he had 27, 12, and 8, and the defensive stops at the end. And in Game 5, the 40, it was a weird LeBron game because he had 3 of his most explosive offensive plays of those 3 dunks that he's had all postseason. But he just didn't have the juice last night. So LeBron didn't have the juice. Luka's performance last night, even more shocking. Because Luka has been a back against the wall, I'm going to F you up. Everybody's tough when they're up.
Luka seemed pretty messed up, like basically this whole series, though.
Yeah.
Whether it was sicknesses or yesterday, I feel like he came out with like some back spasm type of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, he got hurt, but he didn't. If it was, he had looked awesome, and until the hard fall, that would be one thing. But that's not what it was. Like, he was relatively passive in the first quarter, which is when he has crushed. It felt early on like LeBron and Luka were both like, okay, let's conserve energy in the first quarter so we have more in the fourth quarter. And at first it looked like a bad strategy because they were down 14.
Right.
But then once, despite all that, they were able to claw their way back into the game and actually take a 1-point lead, you thought, oh, this could work out. But LeBron didn't have the extra gear, and Luka didn't have it really, I don't want to say the whole series, but the last 3 games. Since he got sick, Luka didn't have the Luka playoff gear. 28, 7, and 9 on 7 of 18 from the field for Luka is by his standards a bad playoff game. Now, the flip side to that, and where credit must be given, is the other guys are paid too. And the Timberwolves' defensive plan against Luka and against LeBron was outstanding. The Timberwolves trusting, you know what? Austin Reeves, if you beat us, you beat us. We don't think you're going to beat us. It was smart. It worked. And so I'm not going to kill Austin Reeves. He had a rough series. But also, the Lakers shouldn't have needed Austin Reeves to be great to force a Game 6 against the Timberwolves. And I understand that the Timberwolves are now 21-5 in their last 26. And I think they have 10 or it's either 10 or 15. I don't remember. Double-digit wins in that stretch. I get that maybe I am still even to a degree underrating or disrespecting the Timberwolves. But this Lakers team, it was not, and this is what's so frustrating about the way the season ended. It was not some hope and a prayer media creation. They had almost the exact same record against the Western Conference as Oklahoma City did. They were a dominant team at home where they lost 2 of these games. They had, I think, the 4th best record in the league against the best teams in the league. We saw them at the end of the year against a full strength Oklahoma City team, blow them out, and then go toe-to-toe with them a week before the playoffs. They were rested. All of those things happened. And while LeBron did not have a great game 5, you did get great LeBron performances in games 2, 3, and 4. So it wasn't that, the old man slowed down at the end. He did at the very end. And they still just got annihilated in this series. The thing about last night that made usually, DeMonze, if a team loses a closeout game that, is a one-possession game with a few minutes left, it's heart-wrenching. I gotta tell you, it's not how I felt watching the Lakers squander that game at the very end, because they were incredibly lucky last night that they weren't blown out. Anthony Edwards was 0 for 11 from 3. The Timberwolves as a whole shot 47 threes and made 7 of them. Think about that. They were 15% from 3. So Ant was 5 of 19 from the field. And that's another weird thing for Ant, because he's going to get his flowers today, as he should. But it reminded me actually a lot of game 7 against Denver, the biggest win of Anthony Edwards' career. He was 6 of 24 from the field, 2 of 10 from 3, had 16 points. It was his worst game of the series, and they came back and beat Denver anyway. Last night, he's 5 of 19 from the field, 0 of 11 from 3, has 15 points, and it's the game that he knocks off Luka and LeBron, which is a testament to the Timberwolves and a testament to Julius Randle was excellent. This entire series, Julius Randle was reliable, and obviously, Rudy Gobert's 9 offensive rebounds, 24 total rebounds, him scoring 27 points in a playoff game was unfathomable. And you can say, listen, the Lakers don't play a center. The Lakers haven't played a center all series. Rudy Gobert's stat lines prior to last night: 2 and 6, 6 and 6, 1 and 3, 5 and 10, and then 27 and 24. Prior to last night in the series, Rudy Gobert had 14 points, 25 rebounds in the 4 games. Last night he had 27 points, 24 rebounds.
But not having a big guy in there is going to come back to bite you eventually, right?
Well, clearly. So clearly it did, but the point that I'm making is, and you guys know from what I was saying earlier in the series, that I thought, and even though the Lakers were in a tough spot, one of the things that had worked out for them was that the Timberwolves, and we talked about this, that even though the Lakers were playing was 6'8" and below, Rudy wasn't killing them. That they were getting away with playing that small because the Timberwolves didn't want to give Rudy Gobert the ball. And I'll be honest, last night, they didn't give him the ball that much. It was all on, offense, not
second
all,
chance efforts.
But it was on offensive rebounds. It was on putbacks. It wasn't a lot of, they passed it to Rudy Gobert. And so a guy who has in his 70, how many games is his playoff career? 74-game playoff career, who went into last night with 5 career 20-point playoff games and 0 career 25-point playoff games, puts 27 on your head. A guy who in his 74 career playoff games, once going into last night, had more than 18 rebounds in a game in the playoffs, puts 24 rebounds on your head. It was a dominant performance by him. It was a great performance by by Julius Randle. and that's the other piece. Jaden McDaniels in foul trouble immediately, and it didn't matter. So this was it felt to me like, and this is not an excuse, and it might even be an indictment. It felt to me like the Lakers felt they lost the series on Sunday. And that they came out because there was no energy in the first quarter. It was something of a miracle.
Minnesota was leaving it up there for grabs.
Yes.
100%. They were playing pretty complacent with the lead, taking a lot of deep shots instead of driving.
It was a miracle. It's exactly right, DeMaze, that this game was close late. If Minnesota just has a C- shooting night instead of the worst shooting night any team will have in the playoffs over the next 3 years, which is really what they did. The Lakers are down 25.
Right.
And so the credit to the Timberwolves, man. And
what about the Mark Williams trade, man? Like, how
well,
would that have changed this?
here's the thing. What they gave up in the Mark Williams trade was Dalton Connect, a first-round pick, and I think a swap. So there is no argument to be made like, well, for this series and this postseason, that would have hurt you because Dalton Connect got 0 minutes.
Right.
You know what I mean? So since the guy you traded, you never played, in the short term, and Mark Williams took a bit of a victory lap, I understand, on Twitter. I get that. It certainly felt like, and when they didn't get Mark Williams, they signed Alex Lynn, who played 0 minutes. Now, Maxi Kleba comes off the bench after not playing in months because of his injury. JJ gives him 5 minutes, and more on JJ shortly. It sure feels like they would have had a better chance now in retrospect in this series. They had Mark Williams. We never saw him play with him, and now that powder is dry for, a move this coming summer potentially. But I can't pick a team to win the championship and then when they get popped in round 1 and 5, be like, well, here's all the obvious flaws with the roster. Like, that's bullshit. I knew Mark Williams wasn't on the team. I knew how big the Timberwolves were when I said after game 82 of the season, that I thought the bracket fell perfectly for the Lakers. And now you look at it and you say, well, that was wrong. Obviously. So, no, but at its core, people are going to, I think, focus on the wrong things. I think what happened to the Lakers, in my opinion, is 3 games of this series, and they scored less than 100 points. 4 games of the series, they scored less than 105. The 1 game they won, they only scored 94. And so folks are going to say the issue was they were never going to be good enough defensively. Maybe. But the issue in this series was an offense that the only way to look at this Lakers team as a legitimate contender was going to be they have an elite offense. That offense was never elite. It was never even very good. And it's just remarkable to me that it's the same offense I saw a few weeks ago drop 126 in OKC in a game OKC wanted, and then have like 110 with 6 minutes left in OKC against that defense in the game Luka got ejected in. The Lakers role players all had some struggles. Luka obviously wasn't himself. LeBron ran out of gas in every every one of these fourth quarters, and
Yeah, I'm surprised
that's how
you're
you
not
lose in 5.
giving it
Go ahead.
Austin. Yeah, I feel like you did really go easy on Austin Reeves. If those guys aren't gonna show up, then who has to show up? I think it has to be Austin.
Well, no, listen. So Austin Reeves for the series was 16, 5, and 3 on 41-32 splits. It's a bad series. The reason I'm not focusing on that is because I just think that would be kind of bullshit in that I didn't pick the Lakers. People are, I think people that are discerning listeners to how I do this stuff are maybe at times surprised at how fair I try to be to what is honest commentary. I didn't pick the Lakers because I thought Austin Reeves was going to cook.
Right.
So and so this was the first playoff run of his career where a lot was expected of him. That's where
fair. That's fair.
And he didn't listen. He wasn't great, but he's a young player who doesn't make a ton of money. Who you just I don't like when stars are awesome, their team loses, and people then blame the star. The example of that would have been if after the Pacers beat the Bucks, if people were like, Giannis needed to do more. Giannis did fucking everything he could have done, and they got beat. So like Bill James used to say, bad teams have an amazing ability to blame their best players for their biggest problems. And so I try not to do that. But what I also try not to do is when a team that I thought was going to win because of the overwhelming star power at the very top doesn't win, and those two stars are good, but not what I thought they would be, then be like, man, needed more from your third option.
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
and so it's not like that I'm trying to protect Austin. It's nothing like that. It's that he wasn't very good. But Austin Reeves playing at a C- level, again, should not be the reason you're going home in 5. And that's where we end up. So I'm going to get to a bunch of the other stuff, and I actually do, Demonze, want the first thing we talk about here in a minute to be JJ Redick. So if we need to adjust our rundown, that's fine, because I do want to talk about the Redick piece of this. Then we'll get to LeBron and Luka. But first, the NBA 82-game grind is done, and now the real fun has begun. The NBA playoffs are here. It's time for all the high-stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw-dropping plays. Can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in games all the way through to the finals, now's the time to back your favorite players and teams as they chase glory. All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Want to make your playoff experience even more intense? Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30, 40, or more? It's your call. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Lock in your bets and let's make this playoff run unforgettable. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code WRIGHT. That's code WRIGHT, WRIGHT, for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, Demonze, let's get to some of this other stuff as we spend a lot of time on Lakers Wolves.
Yeah, so JJ Redick was asked in a pregame presser if he was going to consult with his assistants a little bit more, and he got offended by that and kind of stormed out of the meeting. And Dragonfly Jones came out and said,
Friend of the show.
Yeah, so quote, "You can't be the smug, know-it-all new coach, and then every coach, whoever schemed against Rudy, did a better job than you." answer those questions at the podium, bro.
Yeah.
So
So here's the deal. So I'm also not going to. So I'm big on, and we can take Dragonfly's tweet off. I'm big on. This is going to sound silly. Just being honest, no matter how it looks or if people think there's an agenda there or whatever it is. So over the last couple years, when I have criticized the Lakers coaching, it hasn't been to protect LeBron. It hasn't been because I was looking for a fall guy. It was because I thought Darvin Ham was, objectively speaking, a bad coach. And I thought he put them in bad, strategic, and tactical and lineup situations, and it hurt their chances of succeeding. That's why I criticized him. I am not going to, all of a sudden, because they lost a series that I thought they should win, act like I don't think JJ Redick, over the course of the year, did an excellent job. I think he did. I think JJ Redick is a really sharp coach. I think there are a lot of major positives for JJ Redick, from a work ethic, from attention to detail, from tactics, from understanding the kind of newer elements of what you would call analytics, but it's really just kind of smart math on things. All of those things I give him high marks for. With that said, my concern about JJ coming in, and you guys can remember this, you can check the tape, was actually a personality concern, which was, I saw how JJ dealt with criticism when he was in the media. I saw how JJ, how online he was, and reading mentions and reading what was being written. And I was worried that when times got tough, that JJ Redick wouldn't react well to that. The first tough times he really had, the first real criticism he got his entire tenure, was after he did something literally no coach has ever done in basketball history: play all 5 starters, play the same 5 guys all 24 minutes in a playoff game for the second half. He got some criticism for it, and then also was asked about it pregame, and immediately became a bit of a petulant child. And that was the concern. Here is the other concern. And this is one JJ is not going to like to hear. But the record speaks for itself. JJ Redick, his entire basketball life, gets tight in big spots. At the peak of his basketball career, when he was the best player in college basketball at Duke, go look at those tournament stat lines. And you might say this is ridiculous. Why are you bringing up JJ Redick's, 03 or 06 NCAA tournament and talking about the Lakers? I'll explain. But JJ Redick, he was an unbelievable college basketball player who was not a very good NCAA tournament player. Was on 4 Duke teams, any of which could have won the national championship. Got popped in the Sweet 16 almost every year. Made it to one Final Four. And it wasn't like, oh, JJ was great. No, that's not how it went. Go back and look if you don't remember. Then, as Jerry West reminded him when JJ did the plumbers and firemen bit, JJ in the pros, as really good as he was later in his career, was not a good playoff performer. So why am I bringing that up now? He strikes me as a guy who gets a little tight, who's wound a little tight. And when you have on the TNT broadcast the sideline reporter who never, that's like the opposite of the take industry, is the sideline reporter. When you have the sideline reporter telling us, ooh, JJ was wound up when we met with him before the game. He was on edge. And then when you have JJ storming out of a press conference, when you have in the game, he has committed before the game, I'm not going to play Jackson Hayes. But then all of a sudden you are just getting your teeth kicked in on the offensive glass. And you're like, well, I've already said I'm not playing Jackson Hayes. So I guess Maxi Kleba, who again, I think could have been useful for the Lakers because he's a big guy who can shoot and has a relationship with Luka. The problem is he hadn't practiced or played with him once ever. You put him in, like, to coach who got a little tight. Oh, my goodness. Sorry, I don't know if you guys heard my dog freaking out. It's a coach that he got a little tight. And so I think that if I am giving JJ Redick advice for next year and for the rest of his coaching career, because I do think he has a lot of the talent to be a really good head coach. And Lucas said great things about him afterwards. Said it reminded him of being back in Europe with the style of coaching and the attention to detail, all that. It honestly is, as silly as it sounds, just chill a little, man. Just breathe and chill.
Well,
and
I think that
go
also,
ahead.
I think he was also in his head about making that decision, and like he's like, I don't want to call it embarrassed, but like the fact that he's being questioned on it, he just can't stand it. He walked away.
I also think.
Sorry for the birds, by the way, guys.
I loved it.
Here,
I
so
was
Snow
going
White
to
stuff
ask you
going
about
on.
that. I think it sounds delightful. I was like, oh man, this is a nice little background to the pod, just chirping Southern California birds.
Right.
But so here's the thing. Almost assuredly, I can't bet this, but I would bet almost anything that Redick had no idea that no coach ever had played all five guys for the second half of a playoff game. Like when he was doing it, like why would he? I didn't know it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like he made history.
Right, correct. I'm sure he knew it was rare, you know what I mean?
Right.
Unorthodox.
Like never
but
before?
No
Like,
team
not one
ever
time.
in basketball history.
Right.
And so then when they fall apart at the end, and then he finds out I'm the first guy to ever do this, I bet he felt a little boxed in and maybe even a little embarrassed. And so I think he is wound a little tight. And I think that unfortunately manifested itself in big spots in his playing career. And now, first run in the playoffs, manifested itself a bit in the first really big spot of his coaching career. That's all. It's not a lifelong indictment. It just is what it is. All right, DeMonte, let's get to Luka. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously they made the big trade for Luka, sent Anthony Davis to Dallas. What do you like? What does this situation look like if they never traded Anthony Davis over there?
Well, I don't think they would have gotten to the 3 line had they kept Anthony Davis. I don't, especially given the fact that his injury clearly was more substantial than Luka's. So I think we do have to consider that piece of it. Do I think, given how Luka played in this series, that LeBron showed you he can still get to a high volume scoring level in the playoffs if need be? Would they maybe have had a better chance in this specific series given how Luka played all of it against this specific opponent if they had Anthony Davis. Maybe. Do I think that's relevant? Not even a tiny bit. Because if they had Anthony Davis, we know that that team could not generate enough offense to compete for a championship. We had seen it over the last few years. Now, you can say, well, this team couldn't either. And they didn't. But there is going to be an immense amount of Luka Doncic criticism today and this offseason. And even some folks who, not naming names, because I wouldn't want to call them shameless charlatans by naming their names, Kevin Wildes, who just a few weeks ago were going viral for explaining how Nico Harrison is at the forefront of the modern-day Babe Ruth trade, which means a few weeks ago, these people, again, not naming names, Kevin Wildes, were comparing Luka Doncic to Babe Ruth, are now going to be like, well, how good is he really? Like, I think that's ridiculous. Do I think Luka had a good series? No. Do I think this is do I know this is the first time in Luka's playoff career, Demonze, where you can fairly and honestly say, man, it was one of the big reasons your team lost was because you didn't play as well as they needed. Yes, that is fair. Every other series he's lost, he has been either a triple plus or his team's just been outgunned. So the first series he ever played against the Clippers, he was 31-10-9 and hit a buzzer beater to win a game. The second series they ever lost was 7 games against the Clippers. He was 36-8-10. The third series they lost was against the team that won the championship, Golden State, in the conference finals, and he was 32-9-6. And the fourth series he lost was against Dallas in the finals when he was 29-9-6. And I'm sorry, against Boston in the finals. While I underrated Boston in that series, Boston has proven itself to be a great team. This series, they needed more from Luka on both ends, and he wasn't able to provide it. That's fair to criticize. This series, and here is the part, Demonze, of Luka is out of shape. Luka's endurance is not up to par that I struggle with. Okay?
All right.
Let me tell you. How many players these playoffs have played more minutes than Luka Doncic? Do you have a guess?
Probably not one.
Yeah,
I would
0.
assume. Yeah.
He and Jamal Murray are tied for the most. So the players who have played 200 plus minutes these playoffs: LeBron, Cade, Anthony Edwards, Joker, OG, Luka, Jamal Murray. Okay? Now you might be like, well, some of those series went 4 games. Minutes per game these playoffs. The guys who are playing 40 plus, it's the exact same list. Right on the outside looking in is Jalen Brunson, Paolo Banchero, Christian Braun, and Austin Reeves. So here is something I really struggle with when it comes to the criticism of Luka's conditioning. Criticizing his defense, to me, is obviously totally in bounds and fair. When it comes to criticizing his conditioning, my problem is, would he look less winded and more rested like other starters do if, like other starters, he wasn't playing more minutes than everyone else in the playoffs? So, like,
also on the other hand, if he's not giving you exactly what he needs, we need from him in order to win the series, then maybe take him off the court for a little bit so he can come back in later and have more energy and put out a better offensive output or something. Whatever you want to call it.
What is frustrating to me is if he was playing, average minutes for a superstar and just looked more winded than all the other superstars, then I would say it's more of a fair criticism. But when he is so this year up to this point in the postseason, he's played more minutes than everybody. Last year, when everyone just killed him for how tired he looked at the end, he played 900 minutes that postseason, right? Jason Tatum sure looked fresher in those finals. Tatum played 768 minutes on a per game basis last year in the playoffs. Luka was at 41 minutes per game. The only guys to play multiple series and be at 40 plus were Kyrie, Joker, Tatum, Ant, Luka, and Josh Hart. And if you remember, at the end of last postseason, Ant said, "Man, I fell off because I was exhausted." That's what he said. He was like, "I was exhausted." And this is year after year that this is the case as far as Luka's postseason usage. And then people are like, "Man, dude's out of shape." When he obviously is not in tip-top physical shape.
Yeah,
I'm not arguing that. Go ahead.
He also doesn't play like everybody else. Like you're saying he's out there for all those minutes. Luka isn't freaking busting his ass up and down the court. Like, he's kind of like moving around. And then when he does have the ball, he plays at his own pace. It's like he makes you play at his pace that is not a fast pace. So it's like, hey, dude.
No, listen, that's all fair. I just think it is a little... It is a little, I think, overstated. The amount of, man, Luka's out of shape, and that's the problem. When each of the last two postseasons, he's led the NBA in minutes per game. And when you also add to it that the guy who just beat him in this series, Ant, last year said he was out of gas and Luka was moving on to the finals. Now, with that said, Luka should look at this year as a true failure. The team he wanted to stick with gave up on him. And then he got to the Lakers and they lost as a 3 seed and he wasn't great. So he does need to be better. He does need to get in better shape. But there is going to be, in my opinion, there is going to be a massive overreaction to this series. And there is, if you want to say, let's see how Ant does the rest of the postseason. Is it possible that the question you asked the other day, Demonze, could Ant supplant Luka on the NBA hierarchy? Sure. Do I think he has done it already? I do not. I don't think that.
Well, yeah, I think especially he was barely at the hands of the win last night, so I could that's fair.
And I think that right, and that's another. So that's another piece of it that I think has to be factored into when we're talking about, these. Luka is one of, to me, just two guys in the league, him, Joker, and Giannis, that a game that like the one Anthony Edwards had last night feels impossible. Where it's just, there's only 3 guys in the league where even their bad games, it's like, what did he finish with? It's like 25, 9, and 7. Like the fly in that ointment is Friday night, Luka had a game where I think it was 17, 7, and 8. But if we take him at his word that he was dog sick, then you can attribute it more to that. And so I'm not making excuses. I am, though, explaining what I think, how I think this went down, and what it means for him moving forward. He does need to be better. But also, this one last thing on Luka before we get to LeBron. I'm amazed at the number of people that will just say, well, if Luka's on your team, you can't, your defense has a ceiling. As if we didn't see a team, again, last year with Luka not only make the finals, but from the All-Star break through, or a little after the All-Star break through the finals, have the number 2 defense in basketball. And in those finals, hold Boston way below its season averages offensively, and play actually. Dallas's defense was good in the finals. Its offense is why they lost. Like, the fact that it's not a hypothetical. Can you have an elite defense with Luka Doncic on it? If you have the right roster, you evidently can have an elite defense with Luka and Kyrie on it. And so I think we just saw it. We literally just saw it. And so there's going to be some overreaction, which is what we're supposed to do this time of year. But get ready, DeMonze, for an NBA, player ranking list that doesn't just have Jason Tatum ahead of Luka Doncic, that has Jaylen Brown ahead of Luka Doncic. I mean, there is going to be. Mark this down. Someone, and I don't mean some fan, someone semi-credible will come out with a top 10 players in the league list going into next year, and they'll leave Luka off it.
Okay.
Let me see if I can figure out the 10 it'll be. Joker, Giannis, SGA, Tatum, easy. Steph grandfathered in because Steph, listen, again, I'm not saying that what I said about Ra's al Ghul have to provide balance in the world. That when Steph's great, he's great. When he's not, we move on. But watch TV today and see how much Steph Curry criticism there is. Just watch. I was just curious. There'll probably be a lot of criticism of Dylan Brooks for being mean to him. But all right, so Joker, Giannis, SGA, Tatum, Steph. That's an easy 5. Now, I have to look at, the only way I can do these lists and not leave people out on everything is to just look at standings and just go team by team. So let me just do this real quick. Oh, Donovan Mitchell is going to be on there, especially with what Cleveland's doing. There's no question about it. You've got, who am I forgetting as an obvious one? Donovan will be on there, but there's a very obvious one that I'm now leaving out. Jalen Brunson. Someone definitively, this will be their 10th guy. I got to find the other 2, because this is what will really get you the engagement. We'll put Anthony Davis at 10. Anthony Davis 10, Luka 11. That'll be there.
Yeah, 100%.
And then there's 2 spots open, so I don't know. Oh, Wemby, obviously.
Yeah.
Wemby will be on there. Now we just need one more, and so dealer's choice, I suppose. Cade maybe, Bron maybe, Durant maybe. If Denver keeps rolling, playoff Jamal. Like Jimmy Butler, if depending on what they do, they'll find somebody, and or Halliburton. What about Halliburton? As long as he can get his daddy to chill out, there you go. You're gonna have that. You're gonna have somebody say on TV, maybe even today, if you're trying to win a championship, I'd rather have Tyrese Halliburton. That's gonna happen. And so, just be prepared for it. All right. Ask me the LeBron question.
How does this season and along with this series impact LeBron's legacy?
This season helps it. This series means nothing. Write a letter to your mom if you're mad about it. Not you, DeMonte. That'd be to my wife. I'm not. So I will at some point because listen, the LeBron legacy thing is only a LeBron versus Jordan conversation at this point. That's what people have made it to be. That's fine. And I don't think LeBron was great, and I thought he was great he was great in games 2, 3, and 4. But over the course of the series, I thought he was fine. I do think he was exponentially and demonstrably better than Michael Jordan was in the playoffs at any point after he was 35 and LeBron's 40. And that's because Michael Jordan never made the playoffs after he was 35. So if we're just going to do a LeBron Jordan thing, there's a whole thing. Listen, I'm not going, and don't even clip this because I will, because I know that the people that are in charge of this show's like analytics and metrics and all that stuff. They really need from me like a full-throated LeBron thing today, and I'm not going to do it. And so it's kind of a bummer. If you guys remind me at some point in the next month or so, I'll give you, I guarantee it. I will give you guys a LeBron Jordan side-by-side take that, even though I'm not on this platform, I know we'll do crazy on TikTok of all these things. I don't really know how to make TikTok videos, but our producers do. And we're just going to do a year-by-year comp. And we can put little check marks on it. So just the views and clicks we're not going to get because I'm not doing a LeBron thing today. Don't worry. I'll call my shot on this. We're going to have a 5 million view social media thing on the age year-by-year LeBron versus Jordan thing I'll do in a few weeks. I don't want to do it today. And I'm not interested. And last question on this before we get to the other playoff reactions to Maze.
What is next for LeBron, Luka, and the Lakers? What do you think they should do this offseason?
That's not what I meant.
Oh, wait. Okay. My bad.
Sorry.
How do you think Wilds is going to be on the show today?
Peak annoying.
Yeah.
Peak. Like, it is. Here's the thing about my dear friend Kevin Wilds. I love him. I really do. Now, I've never, ever hung out with him outside of work, and he won't come over to the house. So maybe he doesn't feel the same way about me. But I love the man. I also think he is the key to the television show's success. I also believe it's not that he has bad sports takes. It's that he doesn't have them. He's just a weather vane, whatever that thing's called. Just wherever the wind's blowing, he's there. And then he's over here. And then at the end of it, he's like, told you so. He picked the fucking Lakers, and today he's going to be wearing a tuxedo, playing a piano, drinking scotch, celebrating a gentleman's sweep. His lack of take integrity is so infuriating that if I didn't love him as much as I do, I think we would have come to blows at some point. And that wouldn't go well for me because here's something America doesn't know. Kevin Wilds, sneaky jacked. Like legit sneaky jacked. Not just like late 40s dad bod jacked, but like legit jacked. I don't know how it happened.
I could see that.
Yeah. Well, and so, all right. So, yeah, Wild's going to be peak annoying.
What do you think about JJ?
I mean, I don't feel completely comfortable evaluating like the schematics of the situation, but the results ain't been great. I think we were quick, and I trust the people who say it. Like, we were quick to say that like he understood the game. I think parachuting in and managing a roster like that is probably pretty hard. It's probably made easier by the fact that LeBron James is there and seemed to clearly be a supporter. So like getting that instant credibility is not as difficult. And he played for a long time, and he's smart basketball wise. The in-game decisions were unique, like leaving the guys out there, which seemed to backfire. It's funny because like I for basketball, much more than football, I rely on other people's whom I trust opinion. And a lot of them were defending JJ because the bench was not deep, and defending him because they made this crazy trade midseason and didn't have time to fill in other holes in their roster. So like, I think he overachieved as far as expectations are concerned, but we don't care about expectations. You gotta, at a certain point, it's about what you produce.
he is not built to be a coach in a sport that plays 82 regular season games and then has playoff series. He's simply wound too tight. He stormed out of the press conference before the game, right? And if you've seen the clip, to be fair to JJ, I recognize what happened here. Little Buddy wanted to ask, I don't even know how young to do this. Let me not call him Little Buddy, but Buddy wanted to ask JJ a question about game 4 and JJ playing those guys all the way through the fourth quarter and whether he was leaning on his assistants for about whether to take guys in and out of the game. And what the dude needed to say to ask the question was, JJ, when you make decisions about substitutions, how much do you lean on your assistants in those times? But instead, he was like, hey, so, you know, you got the assistants there. And he stammered through it, right? And it's taken so long to get to the question that it's giving JJ enough time to ask a reasonable question. Is this motherfucker trying to play me? Like, why is this taking so long, right? Like you know, like, why are you so nervous, right? I know how this goes. We've been here in different places, and he give JJ all the time in the world to be defensive, and then JJ comes with, are you asking that because I'm inexperienced? Is that what it is? Maybe. I don't know why that would, like, make it bad or whatever, but I don't even think JJ knew why he was mad other than, why is this taking so long? You must be trying to play me. But at the same time, JJ was on ESPN for that year or two, right? Mm-hmm. And what really got people charged up about him is that he was getting up there and he was sassing Stephen A. Smith. And he would get up there and he would sass Kendrick Perkins. People that many viewers would love to see get sassed by somebody, let alone this particular guy, right? Now, it's funny because this is a guy that we all, not all, but most of us got introduced to in a context that led to hating him. I actually liked him when he was in college, but most people, I mean, a plurality of the population, I would say, hated JJ Redick. But once he was up there sassing people like the ones I told you about, hey, it wasn't so bad. And then he goes on TV and he's talking to Chris Russo and he's breaking bad with him, which is another person, especially younger folks on the internet, have their issues with. And so JJ became their hero. And I remember somebody was writing a story about him. Maybe it was from the New Yorker, and the woman who was writing it sounded like a younger woman. And she called me to talk about JJ. And I was listening to her and I was just kind of like, I don't think we spelled out here. I don't really know if he's smashing atoms like you think he is, man. Like, I don't think he's doing anything and I say this as somebody who likes him as a TV personality, but his game is not being warm and cuddly and likable. His game is being a jerk. It's just a matter of whether or not it's the jerk that you like. Mm-hmm. That is not a persona that works well as the public face of an NBA franchise. That doesn't work. And so now you get up there and you get defensive and you storming out of stuff before games. And it's clear during the games, you're getting all wound up and you're a little bit too tight. And then you start breaking bad with the media. And media, that's elephants, boy. Their memories is long and they don't ever have to let up on you, especially not after you lose in the first round. What in this cycle changes? Yeah. Nothing in this cycle changes, right? So either he is going to figure out how to deal with people better, or he will not be long for this job, no matter how good he is at it. Because a big part of this job is not just about winning games. It's how you hold it down when you don't.
That's absolutely true. Particularly, I mean, in any sports with long seasons, like, I think the job of a head coach becomes a little bit more of psychologist and team leader. Like, it's different than the X and O schematics. Like, I have no reason to believe that he's not capable of understanding what changes need to be made on the court. Implementing those changes requires some level of buy-in from the constituents that are on your side. And when those changes fail, it requires some level of support from the people who are reviewing this. And I think understanding that is a hard thing, I think, for some athletes to come around to appreciate, is other things matter other than the scoreboard. And they may not matter till they matter. And then when they matter, it's up.
And look, it was roster problems. Like, this we knew this when they made the trade, though. I think they exceeded most of our expectations after they got Luka, especially after they started playing really good defense. Yep. but we knew that this roster was going to have those issues. But if you JJ, hey man, when you decide that you're not going to sub nobody in the whole fourth quarter, for example, you got to know that people are going to wonder about that. And you got to be, and by the way, reasonably. Nobody's ever done this but you, big brain, right? People are going to be like, hey, big brain, could you explain to me why it is that you didn't think that that old man would get tired? Because they looked tired in game 5.
They did.
They those guys, when I saw he put them same dudes out there to start the game, I was just like, damn, JJ is not backing down on any of this. And Jackson Hayes is over there probably wearing church socks. He know he ain't getting in the game. And then he broke out Maxi Kleber.
Yeah.
Right? I forgot he was on the team. I only broke him out for 5 minutes, but it was still just kind of like, hey man, you got to know when you're doing things that people don't quite understand. You got to be cool about talking about it. But I just think he's wound real tight. It's not that he's a bad dude. You watch the podcast and hear him talk to people. Like, he knows how to be relatable and warm in those things with people that he feels deserve his respect. But you got to learn how to talk to the people that you don't think deserve your respect.
Well, I mean, those people deserve respect. Thing. Like, whether you think they do or not, you need to get to a point to where you think they do. It's not you pretending. But
yeah.
It's tough. No, I mean, next year's a big year for him and Luka, I would assume, how this pans out. And LeBron, whatever leverage he has there, it feels like it's dwindling some. Maybe not, but it certainly feels like the decision maker, the power that he had before, is not the power that he has going forward. And maybe getting JJ in there was one of his last influential decisions.
LeBron can opt out of his contract and become a free agent. Usually, someone like him will do that. He has done some opt-in before, but you opt out so you can go get some more bread, right? Totally understand it. But let's look at the Lakers for a second. And let's say LeBron opts out. And I know that the LeBron stands are on their way for what I'm saying. But I'm really asking this as a question because I think it's a bind the Lakers are in and a bind that just about every other team is in, which is you got 2 max guys. Now what? Right? How exactly do you go about putting the team together? You've made the decision that you're going to build around Luka Doncic. Is LeBron at that age the right guy to be the one that you give all the money to build around? So I'm not saying the Lakers should or should not bring LeBron back, but let's say he opted out and they said, thanks for the memories. Do you go home? Do you let the Lakers end your career? Probably not. What do you do then? And how comfortable are you getting in the business of 40, soon to be 41-year-old LeBron James?
So, no more max deal, man. That's all it comes down to for me. Is I
guess that is an option.
No matter where you go, I feel like for what LeBron is going to provide, presumably he wants to win championships. Well, maybe he doesn't. Maybe that's not in his strategy anymore. Maybe he recognizes that trying to catch Jordan or catch Kobe or whoever doesn't matter to his legacy, or maybe it doesn't matter to him, and he wants to cash out and go have fun or whatever somewhere else. Right. That's possible. If LeBron wants to win a championship, he's not a max guy, not in his current second apron world, right? That's what it comes down to, right? We watch these games.
Second team All NBA this year.
He's great. He's incredibly talented, but you watch the games, right? I mean, did you see somebody who's a number 2 on a championship team?
I did not, but is that the standard for a max salary in the NBA? And I guess maybe this becomes the question of what does a max salary in the NBA become? Who becomes the worthy recipient because of how the handcuffing that comes from having that big salary? Because I will say this about the Lakers. It is hard for me to see a world where LeBron opts out and they don't try to bring him back. I think that there's an importance to them of LeBron retiring as a Laker. And if it does not end well with LeBron and the Lakers, he will just go be a Cleveland Cavalier for the rest of his life. Right? I think the Lakers like the idea of great, all these all-time great players they've had seeing themselves as Lakers. And I think LeBron in the end he wanted to play for a legacy franchise, right? He wants that, but don't think for a second he won't chuck a deuce on you. Ask the Miami Heat. It didn't end the way he wanted, and it's like it never happened. However, that is a building and a city full of Kobe stands. And they don't ever actually stop being Kobe stands, right? This is a thing that Luka needs to watch out for too. Because, I mean, the defining characteristic of Nico Harrison is being a Kobe stan and his belief in Mamba mentality and all that stuff. Luka offended that. So you got Kobe's old agent, you got Jeannie Buss, and all these Lakers people who look at Kobe as literally their son. And you got this dude that's out here not in the right shape, being lazy. Like how much you think they're gonna be cool with that? And with LeBron, they Kobe stands. Yeah. And so how this goes from here, I think, is going to be really interesting because I don't know what's best for them, and I can't say what's best for LeBron. I've been on record saying I wish LeBron would have retired like 3 or 4 years ago. And it's not because he can't play. I just don't need to watch it no more, right? Like there's people, you know how it goes sometimes. You got a rapper or something, you just stop listening to their albums one day, right? Not you don't like them no more. You just don't want to hear no more of their tapes. Yeah. Right?
I guess this whole, and maybe this is the modern apron situation making it so you can't hold on to guys for as long, but I was trying to think of a time where it worked for a guy, but I guess we've never had anyone this late in their career as LeBron, where it worked that they went and played a role on a championship team and ate up a huge portion of the salary. Like that's just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it can happen. But, and if anyone could do it, LeBron, he seems to be defying time, but it seems like he can give you flashes. He can't give it consistency. And that's one thing about the NBA playoffs is it's a whole nother season. And so I just don't have, I'm having a real hard time imagining a scenario where I guess maybe it all looks different if they get a rim running center that can protect the basket. Maybe we get a different level of effort from LeBron because we're not taxing him on defense as much. I just have a hard time imagining a situation where the second best player is LeBron and the first best player is Luka and they win a championship.
I agree with you also on that. Like I don't know what anybody's supposed to do. You know, like I don't have a great answer for where this team or any team, but like if they can go get a rim running center, like you just can't go on Amazon.
Yeah.
I mean, those aren't that easy to find.
It seems easy, but Jackson Hayes, big, athletic, can't do it.
Can't do it.
It's obviously not as easy as it seems because I have a hard time when I'm watching these big guys. Like, all you got to do is set a screen and run to the hoop. The hard part was being 7 feet. You did that.
You know who they need to ask? You know who got a rim running center or two actually that maybe they should inquire about? The Dallas Mavericks. hey, if you spot Nico as the mark at this point,
yeah,
right? You might as well see what else you can do.
Now that the season's over and Luka has broken bread, although I hope fish at Craig's that we saw. There's a great fish dish at Craig's. I've had it. The white fish is outstanding. That's hopefully for Luka that he had with JJ Redick and the general manager Rob Pelinka. The Lakers are not in the second round because
they played a better team. They were the 3 seed, of course, playing the 6 seed. So it sounds like they were upset. They were a 50-win team playing a 49-win team. That 49-win team happened to go 17-4 down the stretch of the regular season. So they were coming in as maybe the hottest team in the league. Mm-hmm. And they had the experience of being in the Western Conference Finals a year ago. The Lakers starting lineup in game 1 of that series. And I'm not a big stat-heavy guy, but sometimes I find it very illustrative of what we're talking about. 100 minutes together with that starting lineup. The Wolves starting lineup through the first that they played game 1 in 714. So they just had extreme experience compared to what the Lakers had. We're talking about a Lakers team that tried to change on the fly after acquiring Luka Doncic. They had moments where they looked like one of the best teams in the league. They had moments where they went to Brooklyn and lost, where they lost twice to the Chicago Bulls in a 6-day span when they were trying to fight for seeding. It's a team that didn't know one another yet, and clearly it's a team that was lacking sufficient big men in order to compete with a team with the size of Minnesota.
Is it fair to say, and this is definitely checking on my work, because this is what I said after the Lakers got eliminated, that everything that everybody said about the trade for Anthony Davis in Dallas, which is like, why are you giving up your superstar for a guy that gets hurt? and in Los Angeles, even like, hey, no brainer to get Luka, but he's got to hit the gym. Is it fair to say that those reactions, or who's going to rim protect on top of it, that at the end of the day, those were right to say?
Well, I think
those are fair.
I think when the trade was made, it was all about making the trade for the future. But then because the Lakers had signs of looking really great, looking like a world beater immediately, it was, maybe it was for the present and the future. But I think the reality is it was more so for the future. By trading that deal mid-season, you trade away 2 rotation pieces in Anthony Davis and Max Christie. You got back 1. So all of a sudden, you hurt your depth. And obviously, we've talked ad nauseum about Mark Williams, right. that deal falling through. They tried to address the size. They couldn't. So they went into the postseason with a roster that really had no business talking about winning a championship because of the major hole that they had at center.
Well, they tried to address it with Mark Williams, who tweeted out and posted quite a bit of shade from his position in the aftermath of the Lakers losing. And then you asked a fantastic question. And you got the soundbite of the press conference from LeBron James when you asked him about playing centerless basketball, and I'd love for you to interpret his response.
Right when AD got injured, you guys started playing a lot of centerless basketball, and that required a lot from you and Doe and Rui and then Vando once he got back. Just from a physical, taxing standpoint, how tough was that for the last 3.5 months to play that style, and do you feel like that caught up at all in this series?
No comment. I'll never say that because my guy AD said what he needed, and then he was gone the following week. So I got no comment. I put that uniform on every night. I gave everything I had, and that's all that matters.
All right, you're more fluent in LeBron than perhaps I am or anyone else. You want to interpret that response?
Well, there's layers to it for sure.
I mean, my guy AD, does that mean Luka's not your guy? Or is he implying that if he speaks the truth, he will be gone from the Lakers? Or is he saying we should never have nuked the Mark Williams trade? Bring me the doctor who said that, or what?
Well,
I'll
start with the AD piece because there have been folks that are reluctant to believe the version of events that have been presented by both teams and reporters like myself, who have, our job is to figure out what happened here on February 2nd with that trade. LeBron James didn't know about the deal. He didn't. He found out about it on that Friday night after the Knicks game. JJ Redick found about it before the game, I'm told, but still he didn't know about it till the finish line, basically. Mm-hmm. So I think that's him kind of addressing that's out in the ethos that no, he's my guy. There was no conspiracy led by me to try to orchestrate this deal to get Luka Doncic.
See, that's why you're fluent in LeBron. I didn't even see that he's still grinding on that potential storyline.
It just keeps popping up. Okay, and he sees the stuff that pops up.
All right,
so we'll start there.
All right.
The secondary piece being, listen, I have asked for help with this roster over the years, and it's been the same person in control, Rob Pelinka, who's the president of basketball operations, the general manager. And we saw what happened the last time one of, someone in my position spoke up about it. It was genuinely, clever and funny because the timing happened to go that way. But when he was at All-Star a couple years ago in Cleveland and spoke about his admiration for the job that Sam Presti does, and spoke about how he hopes, more teams act like Les Snead and trade away all the picks when you have a contender. Mm-hmm. That's the message, whether it's the most tactical way about going about it by kind of shaming, in some sense, the front office into making more moves. It's something he feels the urgency every day because he recognizes that there's a very limited resource of him still playing in the NBA.
Yes.
And he wants to have every single chance possible to try to win another championship. And that has to be an urgency shared by every single person in the organization.
Well, I mean, getting Luka's not a bad. I mean, you can't say no to that. I mean,
it's the correct move.
If Nico Harrison's calling you up and saying, we're going to move Luka, we're thinking about it, only to you. Like, there's no, like, this is the greatest pocket listing in the history of the NBA. And you're going to have to say, who do you want? And the answer comes back basically Anthony Davis. The answer is yes. And then you go and get Mark Williams as a rim protector. I don't know what happened in that physical.
Yeah, so I reported.
That seems like a winning combination right there, doesn't it?
Well, of course. So I'll start on the Williams part. I reported that a source familiar with what the Lakers saw said that they just couldn't live with what they saw. So whatever it was, and yeah, this is a tough area as a reporter because, again, you're talking about someone's body, which is their livelihood for the duration of their time in the league. And so, I don't have access to any of the records and stuff like that. Even the conjecture, sharing that makes me a little uncomfortable because obviously this young man, he averaged almost 15 points per game after the trade that was rescinded.
Doubling almost every
60%
night.
from the field.
Yeah.
He's 7'2", 7'4" reach. I mean, he's a guy who clearly can play NBA basketball. So I wish him well. But for whatever reason, the Lakers decided they couldn't do it. But the bigger point here is that LeBron is a Luka fan. Trust me, I've talked to him on the record. I talked to him off the record. He made sure that as soon as he arrived that he wanted him to feel empowered, put the ball in his hands. I'll play off ball.
He let Luka be introduced last in his first game here in LA. I totally get it.
That's no small.
Sure.
But his bigger point is let's just not be happy about getting Luka. And now the timeline becomes, well, let's build something up for Luka in the next 3-4 years. It's, hey, me and Luka, we can win together, first of all. And also, the Lakers should feel some urgency with Luka because they have until August 2nd to convince him to want to sign a long-term extension with them.
He wouldn't want to?
If I'm Luka Doncic and I love playing basketball where you feel the fire of the moment, and you are the team wherever you go, that there's extra juice in the building, of course I want to sign with the Lakers. But if I'm someone who understands leverage, I wouldn't mind floating that I might not re-sign with the Lakers between now and August 2nd to give some further motivation to the Lakers to get this team better for next year.
But he can't sign a Supermax, and that's not the Lakers' fault. You know what I mean?
No,
but they can
I understand that. But they as of August 2nd, they can offer him a 4-year extension worth $229 million.
Yeah.
Or he could sign a 3-year extension worth about $165, which would then get him into free agency in 2028 with 10 years experience. And at that point, he could sign a Supermax.
Okay. Either way, he's either got to be made to feel at home or not.
The Wolves handled their business, and they knocked out the Lakers. We'll talk about the Lakers offseason in a bit, but let's start with the game. Here's Ben Beacon from Locked On Wolves with more.
So the Timberwolves are moving on to the second round of the playoffs after beating the Lakers by 7 in Game 5 to win the series. I'm Ben Beacon, host of the daily Locked On Wolves podcast, and this performance was a weird one. Rudy Gobert with 27 points and 24 rebounds, the only Timberwolf not named Kevin Garnett in franchise history to have a 2020 playoff game after basically not scoring across the first 4 games of the series. He went 12 for 15 from the floor. Along the way, Anthony Edwards, just 15 points on 19 shots in this game, 0 of 11 outside the arc. The Wolves were 7 of 49, a historically bad 14.9% on three-point shots. But guess what? The Wolves had 18 offensive rebounds. They attempted 11 more shots than the Lakers in this game. They got to the line 33 times. They were aggressive going downhill to the basket, and they held the Lakers, most importantly, to just 96 points. A really impressive closeout of the series for the Wolves on the road. We're going to break the whole thing down over at Locked On Wolves.
So, Tony, the story of the game, obviously, is Rudy Gobert. The Lakers went small. They took Jackson Hayes out of the starting lineup, started Dorian Finney-Smith, and then never played Hayes in this game, with the entire game without a center. Meanwhile, the Wolves had twice as many second chance points as the Lakers. Rudy Gobert was a game high plus 18. What were your thoughts on JJ Redick's decision to go to not only go small but also stay small?
In some ways, long overdue. I mean, Hayes was not good in this series, and I picked the Lakers to win this series, and I have to take a huge L on that because in the regular season, Hayes was good-ish. Went after the Luka trade, not before that. And I thought he'd at least be like useful enough for 10 or 15 minutes, and he was not at all. I mean, JJ tipped it last game in the whole second half. He didn't play anybody really at all, but also not Hayes. And the consequence of that is, hey, sometimes Rudy Gobert is just like a monster on the glass. And I think all three of Gobert's misses were on that same possession in the middle of the second quarter where he just like missed 3 tip layups in a row and they didn't go in. But in every other play, he finished like he was a monster going against smaller players and the extra chances mounted. And I understand why JJ did what he did. They needed skill so bad. They couldn't keep up with the Wolves. Their stars weren't giving them enough, but they lost that trade-off in this game. The Wolves did not play well at all, but they just had enough size to muscle it out.
Yeah, so I understood the reasoning to go small, but part of the reason you go small is to get the benefits of going small. Spread out the other team, get up more threes, get more open layups at the basket, potentially force some turnovers. And the Lakers really didn't do any of that outside of a couple of Jared Vanderbilt scurries to create some turnovers. And they got up 37 threes, but Minnesota got up more, which might be a problem if you think about the size advantage that they had. But they didn't really. You're watching that game, and I'm like, I don't really see the benefits of the Lakers being small right now, other than like early on being able to double Anthony Edwards pretty easily. But even then, the defense got spread out. The Lakers defense got spread out in a way that I don't think they wanted to. And Minnesota pretty much got whatever they wanted. And they missed 40 of their 3-point attempts in this game, but they got a lot of really good 3-point attempts. Like, look, this game was close at the end. This could have easily have been a blowout. Easily. If the Wolves make half of the open shots that they got in this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was easy for them to get them. And like late in the game, okay, Finney Smith's your center, I guess. I don't know who you want to call the center, Rui, whatever. He's on Ant. Okay, great. Bron's on whoever, DiVincenzo, Nazarid, whoever the next offensive guy is. So Luka's on Julius Randle with a bad back, and Joe Swindle's like, great, I'm just going to run through him or around him every single play. Like this guy, he hit the floater that was effective with a dagger before the real dagger. Like they couldn't stop him with the small size that they had. And Minnesota, I mean, and Edwards threes are just like whatever for the quality. He's so good at getting threes up, it doesn't matter. But yeah, you don't take 47 threes and you have like a lot of bad ones. You're taking 47 threes because you love your looks, right? So yeah, a bunch of them, and it's insane that they won a game missing 43s. That's people who hate the modern NBA are gonna be like, see, this stinks, even though they won the game. So yeah, I think their offensive process was awesome, and they were unlucky that they missed so many. But the Lakers shot like crap too. Like this was the Wolves were bad and won a road game in the playoffs. Like that is unreal.
Anthony Edwards, I thought, was really good in this game. I thought, he played a really great floor game. We saw the big scoring game from Anthony Edwards in this series, but he goes 0 for 11 from 3-point range. Not great, but the Lakers were doubling him early, and then Minnesota figured out, okay, like we're not going to run these, kind of close quarter pick and rolls anymore. We're going to try to spread these actions out and spread around the Lakers defense. And then they ended up getting Anthony Edwards in isolation against Luka a lot in the second half, and he ate on those matchups. Again, not always scoring, but driving, collapsing the defense, and spraying out the shooters. I loved his 8 assists.
Me
8
too.
assists to 0 turnovers. Anthony Edwards did not turn the ball over for pretty much the entire series. I think he had less than 10 turnovers the entire series as their lead playmaker. I did not expect that. He made a leap, not only with the scoring and everything that we know about, but he made a leap in this series, I think, just as a playmaker. Again, I don't know if the Lakers defense made it hard for him, but I want to give him a ton of credit because he was just making the right read out of those double teams every single time. Got the ball to the middle of the floor, and then that player he only got 8 assists, credited for 8 assists. He was responsible for so many more hockey assists in this game. I thought he was fantastic.
Well, also, you're only not going to get a lot of assists when your teammates don't make a single jump shot the entire game.
Great point.
Right?
Great
It'd
point.
be tough. Yeah, you and I did one of these game nights during the season. They played the Pelicans, and he had like 30-something points. And I remember saying to you, like, eventually he's just going to get these little simple passes down when he sees pressure, and it's going to lead to something. And that never happened in the regular season. I was like, dang, maybe I'm just dumb. Nope, here it is. He waits till the big stage. He's ready to do it. Like, no problem. Oh, here come 2 Lakers. Great. You got this, Dante. It's just, I just cannot believe this game. That McDaniels barely played. He was awesome all series. He fouled out. DiVincenzo, Conley, and Edwards were a combined 10 for 39. And they won the game. The Lakers were terrible in this, like a lot of the series.
We already talked about the small ball stuff with them and Jackson Hayes being played out of the series. Let me ask you a question. Do the Lakers lose this series 4-1 if they have Anthony Davis and not Luka Doncic in the lineup?
If I were like the most petty Mavs person ever, I would be tweeting right now that after the regular season, both the Mavs and Lakers won 1 game. Shout out to the play-in tournament for making that possible, because it's true. Yeah, I mean, probably. I don't know.
I don't think they lose 4-1.
Luka was really good for most of the series. His defense was really bad, though.
Austin Reeves was really bad, also.
Reeves is if you
I would a better Reeves series and Anthony Edwards and Anthony Davis.
Yeah. I will look back at this as an Edwards series, like for me being wrong about this, but also Reeves was really tough. He even I was just reading quotes before we started, like he even admitted that this was a very bad series for him, which is good. He has to know that. And the whole premise of the Lakers being good enough on offense with like the size to defend is they have 3 guys who can do it, and they didn't in this series. Like even LeBron's awesome. He's a really good offensive player, but like I thought his defense was better than his offense in this series. I don't know what you think on that. And like Luka was great. He had these amazing quarters. He had an amazing third quarter again today after hurting his back, but they just never got enough from Reeves from ball handling or playmaking or anything to really make it a 3-headed monster. And they had to be reliant on like Hachimura jumpers or Bron doing stuff or whatever. And it just, you can't rely on that kind of stuff. Their bench, no one made a shot off their bench. I mean, I know they barely played, but like, they needed Reeves to do anything more than this, and he didn't the entire, like, not the entire series, but most of it.
Let's talk offseason for the Lakers, Tony. Is it as simple as just adding a center? Are they just that one piece away in your mind?
Yes, they are Dalton Connect and a pick for Mark Williams away from... I had to get the joke in. Mark Williams got the joke in. If you haven't seen it, Mark Williams, 2 seconds after the series ends, tweets a smiling face emoji.
No.
Hilarious. So that made me want to make that joke. But yes, they need a center so bad. And especially, like we've seen it with Luka, exactly what that center is. Screen, dive, lob, center, specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not
Do you think Mark Williams would have changed this series?
No.
Me neither. They need that center is Mark Williams, but they need a better than Mark Williams.
Dude, I don't even know. Like, maybe I'm crazy. Like, I don't think Mark Williams is that good of a defensive player. Like, people talk about him like he's like, oh, this would have been great as a rim protector. I'm like, I get that no one watches the Hornets, but like, he's not that good at that. Like, I don't.
No, it would have been a bet. It would have been a bet that you could develop.
And like and Jackson Hayes was good post Luka trade. Like centers who can do the thing will look good with Luka, right? And Derek Lively is like the perfect prototype in a lot of ways, right? He looked awesome as a rookie. And again, it's like these centers are very valuable to any good passer, right? They're not easy to get, but that is like to a T what they need because Hayes' defense was awful and like his hands aren't good enough. And does he make contact with anyone on his screens? Like it doesn't do anything. It doesn't help enough in a postseason. When teams are dialed into his tendencies, clearly he's ineffective. Derek Lively helped the Mavs make the finals. Daniel Gafford helped the Mavs make the finals. And he's not like quite the lobby threat kind of guy, but he's a good screen dive. I can finish around the basket player. So that type of guy, I'm not going to think of specific names. That type of player. Yes. And they need more shooting as well. But
they need more shooting. If they can get a dead eye shooter, maybe it's just Dalton Connect develops into that guy and he's playable and he's a dead eye shooter. And you're not trading him for that center that you need.
When you have that weird of a season, like, are you going to be back? Like the team showed you how they feel about you.
Yeah,
it's got to.
No, they probably need one dead eye shooter that you feel really good about. Like a Luke Kennard type would make a lot of sense on that team potentially. But
you know who they could maybe get? Like Rashawn Holmes from the Wizards. Like he might be a decent fit. He's got that goofy floater. He's decent on lobs. He might be cheap to acquire. I'm just trying to think.
They probably need
now.
a couple of guys though, right? Because if Jackson Hayes can't play at all, and he's a free agent, by the way, so you're probably not going to bring him back.
Yeah.
They need a starter, and they probably need another one.
Clint Capella's a free agent. That seems like that
go.
will be linked to many times in the summer. He did well with Trey. Like he's got that kind of skill set down already.
Look, if they just had the two names that you just mentioned, if they had Capella, Rashawn Holmes, I don't know, but like if they had Capella, well, Capella's also injured. I don't know. I have no idea.
Hater. Rashawn Holmes' parents put up adorable videos every time his teams win, and he was on the Wizards, so that never happened this year. So I was very bummed.
How do you know what Rashawn Holmes' parents are putting up on social
Because
media?
I was a Wizards fan as a kid, and I keep up with the lore of the Washington Wizards. Clint Capella is the answer if he is a free agent. I guarantee that link comes. Shooters like pick anyone, right? Like every team has an endless goal of better efficiency per possession, right? Duh. But especially with Reeves missing, you could really see like they're like, it's not that they don't like Jared Vanderbilt. He's good, but it's like, dang, we got to go to this guy who just doesn't even look at the rim level shooter. And Gabe Vincent didn't make shots either. Like they need shooting bad.
Yeah. Jared Vanderbilt is Ben Simmons without the bad PR a little bit. Like it's
Ty Lue would turn Jared Vanderbilt into a 30-minute per game starter, but on the Lakers, it does not fit very well.
A couple other things that the Lakers have to deal with. LeBron and Dorian Finney-Smith both have player options. They can't afford to lose Finney-Smith, I don't think. And obviously, I don't know why I led with Finney-Smith. They obviously also cannot afford to lose LeBron James, although I don't think we anticipate
I would
that
change
happening.
what they need in the offseason if they lose LeBron. They would need a very, very good second best player, yes.
Yes, that's right. Rashawn Holmes would not save them then. They can trade 1 first-round pick. They also have 5 swaps that they can move around. So they've got a couple of things that they can move, and some of these contracts are chunky enough to kind of move up in salary and go get a piece. But to go back to the original question, is it just, okay, let's say they solve the center issue, and then obviously bring back LeBron and Finney-Smith. I actually do think that they could get right back to competing. I think they can compete for a championship next year. I really do. That need was so glaringly obvious. And it would be obvious against Minnesota or Denver, potentially San Antonio next year, obviously Oklahoma City. Like they just so desperately need that position, and they don't have a single guy who could play it at a playoff level, that if they would literally be going from a 0 to a something if they just get something there, and that is a huge difference. You plug in a center who can start and finish playoff games with Luka, LeBron, Finney-Smith, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, all these guys. I think that dramatically changes what the Lakers look like next year.
LeBron is currently doing his exit interview, Wes.
Mm-hmm.
Lakers LeBron James on challenge of playing center. No comment. My guy, referring to Anthony Davis, my guy said what he needed, and he was gone the following week. Yikes.
What? Oh, no. He also said that playing alongside his son ranks as the #1 accomplishment on his career scoreboard.
I was hoping he would talk about his future so we could very easily do this segment, and instead it's kind of like, oh, this is not how I expected him to talk. I imagine he will play another year. He looked very good all season, but like that would obviously be.
So is this a joke? LeBron saying, I'm not going to say I don't want to play center because he's got a no trade clause. He's not going to get traded.
Jovan Buha said his response in a joking tone, so he might have been a little more silly.
All right. Well, I'm glad LeBron was joking after his team was eliminated.
Jovan, excuse me. Dorian Finney-Smith said he hasn't thought about his player option for 2025-26 yet. Ah, yes. Guy who signed contract has not thought about said contract. The biggest lie in the NBA.
Yeah, the classic. What? I'm a free agent. What even is
LeBron
that?
did say he does not know how much longer he plans to play. I imagine he'll pick up his option.
Yeah, and he's got to come back for one more year. Luka didn't look right physically, basically the moment this season started, and then the moment he got back with the Lakers, and he didn't look right in this game either. I know that he was hobbled by the lower back injury in the middle of the game and stuff, but he's never really looked right. That's another big priority, I think, for the Lakers. Make sure that Luka is getting right. for the next
And I wonder
year.
what his motivation level will be after basically getting called fat after being traded and out of shape. Like, how much of is there a shove it element to his training regime? Does Slovenia, isn't there Eurobasket this summer or something too? Like, he might actually be playing in meaningful games.
Yeah. I mean, Eurobasket is this summer. I don't know what his plans are in terms of competing with Slovenia. But yeah, I mean, he's got to get right. He was bad defensively in this game. And
Randall just went right at him. And he was hurt. Like, I get it, but
yeah,
not good.
He can't be doing that. All right. We'll see what happens to the Lakers this offseason.